Hello. Welcome. Can we, turn it down a little bit, thank you. So I'm really happy to see all of you guys here. I am a program manager on Alex Palamares and Charles Williams' team. And I started at NBCUniversal beginning of this year. One of my first tasks was to produce this event for y'all, so thank you for coming. It's good after months of hard work to see all the people present and attend and sponsor and volunteer, so thank you. I've had a good time and I'm glad that you're here. I would have been just as happy with an empty room, maybe more relaxed, but so I'm glad you're here. Yes, we're doing the panel, and we've talked about the innovative ecosystem and how that delicate balance really drives innovation forward in this field. A lot of times when people hear entertainment, they think lights, camera, action, and don't really think about the foundation that's laid to make sure that all of that gets out into the world, and that's what you do. So I'm glad you're here to sing the praises of that. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce the panelists. We're gonna let them speak a little bit about what they do, and then we're gonna open it up to questions. So Dino and Randy have the mics, so don't be shy, raise your hands if you have a question when we call for them, not in the middle of the speaking. It's frowned upon, but okay. So first up, we have Scott Drake. He's the Senior Vice President of the News Technology Group. He has 25 years of technology and software development expertise. Fun fact, he's maybe someone you don't want to challenge to anything. He went to Rutgers, got 3 varsity football letters, and is a championship racquetball player. Who knew? But his group, let's see, they work on new and emerging technologies, deliver solutions that enable NBC News brands. And so here's a tape of that, right? So let's roll it.
Every day, over 1,000 of our journalists across the world get connected. On mobile, on desktop, and in email, News Connect helps bring teams together from across NBC News, MSNBC, CNBC, Telemundo, and the OWN stations.
We'll have more on those stories in a moment.
These are a few of the stories behind the stories.
So after the Orlando shooting, I was home and I started making some phone calls and wound up on the phone with Omar Mateen's father. And as soon as I hung up the phone, my boss called my cell phone and he said, what's going on? I said, I just talked to the dad of Omar Mateen, and he said, oh, tell me, what did he say? And I said, I can't tell you, I've got to put it in News Connect first. At some point, I noticed that the Today Show, which was on in the background, was actually using the information that I had posted in News Connect in their reporting.
NBC News has now spoken to Mir Siddiqui, the father of the shooter who we know to be now Omar Mateen.
It really illustrated how if you put something into News Connect and people see it and it's interesting, how almost instantaneously it can be out there in the world.
I think a time when News Connect really came in handy and clutch for us was during the Philando Castile shooting that happened in Minnesota. We got a breaking news alert, or someone had flagged us about this video that was on Facebook.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
After we found that out, we immediately were able to just put it right into News Connect, let everyone know that we had saw it. And what was great about that is that usually we would have to pick the phone up and call everybody. And so having News Connect allowed people to sort of just like peer in on what we were doing without actually communicating with us directly, which is what freed our hands to kind of continue to do the reporting that was needed for the story.
It was the 15th anniversary of September 11th. We had a crew on the ground covering day of events, and I got a call from the EP of our Sunday News Affairs program, Enfoque, and she wanted to know what was happening with Hillary's health. We were getting live updates as to what was happening and how NBC News was handling, from a standards perspective, the reporting of that incident. In making those decisions, those very quick snap decisions you have to make, because we were just about to go on air with Enfoque, News Connect was invaluable in giving us that information.
Calor, en inglés, overheating.
It's still far from perfect, and we are always improving, but we can't do it without your feedback. You can always reach the News Connect team at newsconnecthelp@nbcuni.com. As we keep building, our team is focused on the interconnectedness of tools and making information and media easy to discover and ultimately report. Our goal is to build an industry-leading platform that delivers trusted reporting with context across TV, digital, social, and whatever may be next.
Up next, we have James Patterson, VP of Cable Entertainment. He's been at NBCU for 10 years, in his current position for 3 years, and in addition to having one of the happiest business headshots I've ever seen in my life, he's also a little bit of an adventurer, a world traveler. He fed tiger cubs, seen the Great Barrier Reef, and survived a safari in South Africa. I bond with you on the survival thing because I go to the half-yearly sale at Barney's. It's hardcore. So thank you and welcome. All right, next up, Chetan Shah, VP of Business Application for NBC Sports. So he worked closely with the NBC Sports business partners to understand, strategize, and build and leverage forward-looking technology to enable NBCU Sports Group to be the best sports media in the business.
Yes.
And in addition to travel and liking to cook, I heard a rumor, and I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but I heard that maybe he's in Fight Club with Rogelio. So, but we're just going to sort of skip on past that. I get it. There's rules. And then finally, last but not least, we have Thiyages Ramasamy. I want to commend myself for not tripping over that name, but also I want to commend you for having the vision to greenlight this the last year, the first time, and so this year, and hopefully bigger and better moving forward. So thank you. Welcome. All right, I feel like Oprah. You get a car. I kid, you don't. You don't get a car. All right, so obviously the theme is innovation, so why don't you each briefly touch on what your business groups do to sort of enable that for NBC Universal. We'll start with you.
Sure. I'm on.
Is he on? Can you hear him?
Hello.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Who watched the movie Moneyball?
I did.
That's the full-blown commercial for what I do. That's it. If you watch the movie, you understand the power of analytics. The analytics can change the baseball game. The analytics can change everything we do in, day out. Who heard the story? Target found teenage girl pregnant before her father even knew.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Seriously, that's the power of analytics. So I lead the data and analytics platform for Mike Napadano, who is the CIO for Sales, Research, and Analytics. As part of the portfolio, of course, we manage the data warehousing platform to data integration platform to BI stack, all the way to the advanced analytics. I think what I really want to do is empower the curiosity in every single business unit we have within this company. We partner with research team, ad sales team, which is led by Linda Yakarina for 10 billion plus, and then the management science team, which is led by Cameron Davis, and also all the CIOs and CTOs across the board, whether it's a theme park, film, digital, and research. So if I can empower the curiosity within these organizations to give them the platform and the power to do what data can do and what discovery can bring to the table and how they can impact the bottom line through the data analytics platform, I achieve my goal. So my organization is a shared service within Mike Napadano's organization, along with Jeff Zuba, who leads the advanced analytics on top of it. You saw the clip from Moyen about the Kronos applications. That's one of the homegrown digital product that we built using the analytics platform. We also built Hubble, David. So there are homegrown analytical products that we built on the digital. And we also work with the linear ad sales. So digital ad sales, linear ad sales, research, theme parks, and we work with the film on the consumer analytics platform, which is CDW. So across the company, we try to empower the curiosity as part of my job day in, day out.
Okay.
Hopefully that helpful.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good answer. Good answer. All right, Chetan.
Right, great. So,
is he on?
on?
He's on, okay.
All right, great. So again, thank you for the invitation and meeting everybody and talking about some of the things that we do for sports. So everybody did see the Rio Olympics. We were a small part of making that happen with the rest of the group. Again, going back to innovations, what we did was sat down with the business and really understand some of the challenges, and then how do we bring the best technology to help them drive some of their large sporting events. And we started with Rio was the first one, and then we've basically gone through about 1,000 events through this new technology. So again, the way we work is we are embedded with the business. So we sit down with the business. The first question we ask is, what is your mission? Where do you want to take this organization? And then based on that, we put a plan. We understand the ecosystem. And then what are the opportunities for innovations, right? From, the way sports does is they do their planning. How do we make sure that they have a smart way of doing planning? And we partner with James on that. How do we manage the human assets, the resources in order to do the events? How do we pay? How do we get smarter? And how do we bring all the systems together and stitch them, right? So that's the goal that me and my team are going after. We work for Nate Baylog, who's the CIO for sports, and we drive technology and innovations across sports.
Okay, very nice.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm James Patterson. We work with the cable entertainment portfolio led by Bonnie Hammer. So we have 10 owned cable stations here in the U.S., USA, Sci-Fi, Bravo, E, just to name a couple. So so what we specifically do across our team is if you imagine a TV show, from the moment you're pitching a TV show to a network to the moment it airs, we have a lot of different products and tools that make the folks across all of our networks more productive and more efficient with their time. So for example, in the TV production world, we have tools that log incoming pitches to green lights of shows to when you're in the field doing the shots of the production, you're uploading the dailies and the rough cuts to the network so they can securely view that content from anywhere in the world, whether it's on a Mac, PC, iPhone, iPad, all using the cloud. We have tools on the marketing world that track the entire life cycle of a marketing campaign. That is like if you're launching Mr. Robot Season 2, every show spot, every promo spot, marketing asset, graphic, bumper, billboard, you name it, all of that's tracked in our tools, and we're integrating that with different tools like Slack, Dropbox, Media Silo, some of the great, easy-to-use tools so we can archive content, allow people to review it from anywhere, any device. And then finally, on our programming side, we have Compass, which is an end-to-end programming lifecycle tool. Take a contract in, manage the metadata of a title, schedule it on air. So when you hit your TV guide button at home and you look at what's airing on USA or Bravo, that is all built in our tool Compass. Every single hour of every minute of every day is scheduled there. Those are some of the things that we do, and it's all about making our content accessible from any device and making our people across cable entertainment more efficient.
Hi, how you guys doing? My name is Scott Drake. I work in the news technology group. So I spent 14 years working at CNBC as a CIO, CTO, and when we did the news group, Altef asked me to come over. We did a lot of applications in broadcast and in digital technology. So my group is mostly focused on kind of new and emerging technologies and how we can tell better stories for our news brands, right? Faster and more accurate that way. So the advantage we have our product lead is actually an ex-Today Show producer. That's who actually did that. I didn't do that, so I won't take credit for that. But so it's really helpful. For us, it's all about being able to tell stories more richer, faster, more accurately that way, right? And so I would say a lot of stuff from a technology side is not the challenge. It's really from a cultural side, right? Because like when you look at that, people are contributing and collaborating on information. In the old days, it would be like, I run this show, I'm going to call people to go down to Orlando or go down to the hurricane. We'll still do that, but they were relying on those people for that information set. And so as social gets so kind of predominant on kind of breaking news, right? We need to kind of harvest that and be able to use those images and videos that come across there to tell the story better. So my team's kind of really trying to help and change the workflow, going forward. So.
Very cool. So, I mean, all of you, there's a lot of content that comes through, and you're responsible for a lot of really important pieces. So I have to ask, because innovation, one thing that's required is that you kind of be nimble and be able to sort of turn on a dime and change your process, and that's really hard in a big organization. So how do you convince the people that you need to convince that what you're proposing is a better thing, and how do you experiment with that in a huge organization? Go.
I'll start.
Okay.
So I'll give an example. The TV broadcast produce the content, and that's an expensive business, right, to make a content. And out of 100%, they only make money out of 15% of the content they make. Imagine with the data discovery and data analytics, if I can move the needle from 15% to a 16%, imagine how much I can impact the bottom line. So that tells the story. If I need a few $1,000,000 to invest on the new technologies, innovative technologies that we want to do, and if I tell them this is going to bring us, close to $1 billion revenue to the company, that's an easy sell. Right? And data analytics is something that it's pervasive and it's disrupting the industries, especially on the medias, right? Linear TV is going down, but the digital is going up. If we don't innovate and if we don't invest on the digital platforms, we'll be left behind. So for me, it's easy to ask investment as long as I tell them the story to get the ROI faster, quicker. Right? Yeah. So for me, that's not a problem. The problem is really how to keep up with the ever-changing industries on the technology, ever-changing the consumer behavior, because how we watched TV or how we consume the content 10 years ago is irrelevant with the millennial crowd that we have. And if we don't keep up with it, we are not going to be. So for me, innovation is easy to get the money as long as we tell the story about the ROI.
Okay, so fair enough.
Yeah, some of the things that I've been doing is really asking simple questions. What are you trying to solve? And why? And what is that going to help you with, right? So once we kind of put that together, of course, like going back to the ROIs, everything is not important or everything is not solvable, right? Once we put that together, I think, having business engagement and then finding the solution has been very successful for us. It's not like, well, I got it, I'll go find technology. It's not always technology. It could be process, it could be standardization, and technology is a part of it, right? So it's very clear to say, these are my problems. 3 of them can be solved by process, standardization. These 4 I can help you with technology. Now let's go back and look at it. And together, let's figure out what is the best technology to solve your problem. So that's kind of has been something that has helped me introduce a lot of good technology, looking at technology outside, looking at technology within the company, and coming back with what is the best solution we can provide that is very forward-looking, which will really, really help the business, not today, but even tomorrow, right? So that's kind of where the approach I take.
Piece is also maybe, or maybe not, you guys tell me, a challenge in this setting because it's changing, right? The landscape is constantly changing. So if you're like, I'm going to put together a plan and we're going to build toward this, and then the endpoint changes, how does that work for you?
That's when I go to Thiyages.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'll comment on that because I think it's an important point because I think sometimes as technologists we can see the end state, but it's going to take a period of time to get to that end state. And with business changing so quickly, we spend a lot of time on just understanding kind of the value proposition of delivering piecemeal phase implementations or pilots, right? And just getting people on board and getting a little critical mass to get them to be influencers for the rest of the organization that way, right? So I think it's key that, I know you guys have a lot of these technology visions. I remember when I was a CIO at CNBC, and this is in the 90s, like we're going to stream video one day over the internet, but when we looked at the price, it was going to be for one show $57 million because that's the way hosting costs were at that time. But you could see it was going to happen. But to do that without kind of piloting and getting some wins that way and be able to get to the overall kind of end point where you want to get to, I think is very important that way.
And I think adding to that is you need to be humble in the sense that when change does happen, you need to recognize that even though it may have been your idea, you have to change. And I think if you don't change, that's when, if you stay the course, everything else is going to change around you. But if you're now kind of closing your sights on what you want to see happen in the end, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, so don't be married to like the specific solution. You have to, okay. All right, and how do you go and like pitch the things that you're trying to get in terms of innovation and talking people into changing? Because change is hard for anybody, but especially for a big organization where there's sort of a structure and a process in place.
I think for me personally, I think it's all about getting support drummed up from all levels. I think a lot of, and you can always do this different ways, I mean, whether it's top down, bottom up, but I really kind of like to do full court press. the people that are going to be touching the product or whatever you're looking to innovate and launch, you need the people on the ground, and you need their support. You need, of course, executive support, because at the end of the day, it's all dollars and cents, and they're the ones that own the budgets. But I think that you really need to have what you're looking to do resonate so well with the people that are using it. So when that executive does get the pitch from you and they talk to their team is aware, they're behind it, they understand the vision of it, and they're behind you 100%. I think that's a really great way to get that successfully implemented.
And the collaborative tools, we've sort of talked about that, how business has changed, how we, like 10 years ago, how we would get the news or make a phone call or anything, right? How we communicate. So how has that changed the landscape of the business piece? Because there's a bunch of collaborative tools. We've seen some of them here today in the presentations. So how has that changed? Because you guys have all been here for a little bit, so.
Again, the story that we heard from Charles and Alex this morning, that speaks about how the day-to-day job for all the professionals, whether it's IT or business or even consumers. So without those collaboration tools, I mean, my team uses Dropbox, SharePoint, Slack, and you name it, we use it actually. And I, in fact, used the WebEx while I was driving the car. That's not a good thing, don't do that. But
yeah, I feel
that.
like that might be frowned upon,
right? Exactly.
Were you in the passenger seat?
Yeah,
okay.
Right, exactly, because especially when I have a customer base all over the globe and team you have all over the globe, your 8 o'clock is 11 o'clock in East Coast time, and that's the prime time for these guys. So you can't tell them that it's too early for me to join this WebEx meeting. So while you are commuting, you join the WebEx, you join the Cisco Jabber, and you join those collaboration tools. And I use the Dropbox all the time. When I go to I was in a SAS EBC yesterday, and I had to pull my presentation deck. I'm not going to take the printouts or thumb drive, right? You're going to pull it from the Dropbox and copy it and give it to them. So we use the Dropbox, SharePoint, Slack, WebEx, Cisco Jabber, and all kinds.
What about for you guys?
I think the key we're actually built on Jive. It doesn't look like Jive, but we kind of refaced it. So we're leveraging a lot of their kind of, I would say, social APIs around there, like groups and discussions, things like that. I would say the things that we're getting tripped up on a bit is some of these ecosystems like Slack and Jabber. How do we connect that all together and have holistic search and discovery, right? And so there's good use cases in each one of those kind of platforms that way, but we have systems like iNews. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but like if you look at ESPN where you see the different segments coming up, right? That is our collaboration tool. It's 25 years old, but that's what they use in the control room, right? And so we need ways to be able to kind of take it from Slack, Jabber that way, to be able to go into those systems in the control room that way and go in and out, right? So I think we're at the point where we're seeing a lot of emerging new collaboration tools and technology, but how we can integrate them through our kind of core system is going to be important going forward.
Yeah, that's exactly, introduce collaborative tools within the product suites we're putting together for the business. Right. And that's the way I think if you show them the benefits of using those, I think it's automatically adopted by them, right? Now, as a team, as a technology team, we use pretty much all the tools that Thiyages just talked about, but how do you take it to the business? How do we get them involved? How do we start using they start using those tools, right? One of the examples is James introduced me to Intercom tool, and it's one of the best tools that we can embed right in the application that we're putting together. So instead of the users now sending emails and we losing track, it's like, why don't we chat within that tool, within your app, so I can see what your issues are, what your problems are, and the collaboration becomes much better with you and the team that's supporting you, right? So slowly take them where they need to go, but we have to show them value, and you can't just say, well, from now you're going to use Dropbox, or from now you're going to use Slack. They're like, no, we're not, So I think that's the way at least we are approaching it.
Yeah, I think I echo everyone. I'm kind of speechless right now, but I mean, I think these tools, a lot of these new collaboration tools, whatever they may be, just leveraging the APIs. I mean, there's no way that we could ever replace or rebuild a lot of the tools that are out here because they're already done. One, they're in the marketplace, and two, why reinvent the wheel? It's just it's all about coming to select the right tool for the right use case. I think that getting into the mindset of there's one size fits all solution for everything, collaboration is probably, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot day one. So I think that it's all about understanding what is the problem I'm trying to solve, what are the options that I can do, and then pick the best one and go with it. And again, kind of what we were saying earlier is you do have to be aware of what the surroundings around you are, and if you need to change direction, you have to be okay with doing that.
Sounds good. So you have a lot of experience right here on the stage, so you guys can ask questions and know all the things. All you have to do is raise your hand. Yes, Mr. Williams. Okay, go for it.
Actually, I'm going to ask, I don't know if James, you were here earlier. I talked about...
I was here all day, Charles. Thank you.
All right. But I talked about to be innovative, you need to have an edge of irrational kind of purpose about yourself. You know, you all can answer, but I'm kind of picking on you, James, on purpose. Like, tell me, give us an example of something like almost that was irrational from a business decision based on the norm that you pushed through and became like success out the other end as related to innovation.
It's a great question. Geez, I'm sure that everyone from my team in this room is probably like, well, what irrational things James not done? No, I think I'm struggling to find a specific instance, but maybe one that just comes to mind. It's kind of one of those kind of softballs that I'll throw out there is, nope, got it, there it is. I stalled enough and it came to me. So one of the irrational ideas, and I can't take credit for this, this is myself and my team coming up with this, but it's we went through a discovery project to understand how media is actually approved. So a promo spot, a 30-second spot, coming up at 8 p.m., watch this show. We have some really talented creative folks that are actually creating these promo spots. We have some tools that help facilitate that workflow. What we want to do is understand how the workflow works and figure out how we can digitize a lot of that approval process. What we learned, and I will get to the irrational piece in a moment, but what we did learn is the approval process is the wild, wild west. You can take approval of one promo spot and map it, or let's say 100 spots and map each one out, and none of them are consistent. It's all specific to the one creative piece. What we learned is, okay, well, we can't digitize the workflow. That would be suicide. But we can do is make that workflow integrated. So the irrational thing that we're doing right now is actually using a lot of the different tools. First, getting everyone on the same tools. Second, integrating those with our promo management product right now. And so when you send out a spot, it goes up to, let's say, the head of marketing. She clicks approve. That's actually going to take that spot out of Media Silo, which is our promo approval tool. Take that, archive it to Dropbox. Well, first it's going to transcode it, put that low-res proxy into Dropbox. It's also going to push a Slack notification saying that this is approved by this person this day and time, so the relevant parties are notified instantly. The spot's now archived. All of that was manual before, and it's those kind of thoughts that until you really understand what is the way it works best today, you get everyone on the same page, and then you figure out how the best way to implement it is. So that's probably the most irrational thing that we've done before, and that's because we're not building anything. We're just interconnecting a lot of our systems and workflows.
And if you have any other irrational thoughts you want to share? No?
Not to share.
Oh. Any other questions? Don't be shy. It's your time. Your big break could happen.
Well, first of all, thank you for providing all your insights. I can't really speak for anybody else in this room, but one of the biggest things that I've learned in my very short stint career is learning from a lot of my failures. I remember recalling Donna mentioning failing hard and failing fast. What are some failures that you're comfortable sharing with that you learned the most from?
I'll take a hit. I'll take that first. But so originally I came here, I worked on Wall Street, and so I came here to build the first CNBC.com site. And we built it up, and this isn't, I'm a little bit older than you guys, but in 2000, when the internet market just exploded, 2002, the whole ad market went away. And in one day, we had to drop our whole site. And so we had to do a pitch to our senior management, like, when are we going to be profitable? And we did this pitch, we're going to be profitable at 6 months. And then Microsoft came off and wrote a check for $50 million. And that day, we had to let go everybody on our team that way, 50 people that one day, right? I think what we learned from that a little bit is that, from that experience that way, the next time we built it more core to not only the workflow for just a digital property, but for our broadcast property that had more staying power that way. And so next time we had to build it 5 years later when we bought it back from Microsoft, it was kind of more sustainable because it wasn't just supporting the consumer side of things, but also supporting a lot of the broadcast technology. So our ticker plant that we do all the data not only powered our digital products, but powered the TV at the same time that way, which gave us a little bit more staying power that way. So I don't know if that's a good example, but probably one of the toughest things I had to do as kind of a technologist is kind of let a whole team go on a certain day.
I have been with the company for 15 years, and I try to fail fast and hard, but I fail all the time. So I'm always successful.
That's the spirit.
That's why we partner with you. I can quickly give you an example of the SCORE program that we put together for Olympics and all the events. We were on a fast track, 300 miles, 500 miles an hour running, trying to get this in. And business was just giving orders, and we were order takers. And now that we saw what we did, it is always good to stop and ask the business, you're telling me to do this, are you sure this is what you want? Because at that mode, it was like, I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and it just drove all of us crazy. It is okay. It is okay to stop and say, are you sure? Can you think about this? I'll give you 24 hours. And kind of push back a little bit, because everything they say is not what we should be standing up and doing. We are not order takers. We are partners, and that's what I learned from doing the SCORE program. So that's my 2 cents. And
that goes back to not being married to the solution.
Yes,
like you're trying to say,
yes.
what are you trying to solve?
Yeah.
So do you have anything?
Yeah, one failure, and I think it's a tough question, and it's a good question. And I think it's important to recognize failure and to fall hard. So my example would be, it was a business intelligence project that we were building about, I would say, year and a half, probably 2 years ago. And the objective was, let's measure the profitability of a TV show on any of our networks. And what you have to do, and I'm not going to bore you with how we failed specifically, but in order to understand the failure, the objective of the project is basically you take every single show that aired, you take its Nielsen ratings and its ad sales CPM, and you marry that all together and you roll it up for every single airing, for every single Nielsen rating for that airing, and every single CPM for that specific day part. Roll that up in a dashboard so I can actually look at the profitability of every single one of my titles or my what aired last night. So the challenge was a lot of the systems actually didn't talk. So we did a lot of fuzzy logic to make a lot of matches in that data. And the part where the failure was, I mean, technically it was a tough failure, but I think my failure specifically was, and this is why I know don't stay the course, and otherwise you will fail, because that was my problem. We were married to being committed to see this through. We felt that we were 95% of the way through. All we needed was that last little hurrah and that 5% to get it. But that 5% turned out to be the 80% complexity of the project. But we were just so blinded by what we were doing. And it took a tough call with the CFO of the network to say, listen, I know we said we can do this. It cannot be done. Not today, and we actually have a plan of what hooks we need to build into the systems to make this successful in the future. But today, there's a lot of heavy lifting to get us there, and it can't be done today.
How'd that phone call feel?
I was in person, and I think I still have the scars on my back and chest and face everywhere.
Building character. All right. Anyway, I saw another question here that didn't get asked. Oh.
Thank you. I've had such an amazing day learning from everyone in this room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. one thing that has come up over and over, not just at NBC, but at any company over 100 people, is when new people join, they say, you know what, I just got here, I'm out of college or out of MBA school from this other company, and I have a million ideas. And that's why I joined this company, because I have a million ideas. But I'm a peon in this org. Everyone's been here, 15, 20 plus years. And I have an idea, and it's hard for me to get the idea even heard, because everyone's got, their vision for the year and their goals and their FY17 numbers that they've got to meet. And people are just not afraid, but people are very committed to where they're going. What do you think is a good way for someone brand new, someone who has no influence, has no people, has no tribe, to run an experiment of an idea that is small?
I'll make a stab at it. I do think when you're newer here, you need to get a certain mentor network. I think it's important for that, right? Because in hindsight, if you're going to take time out to do kind of a good idea, it might be a good idea from your perspective, but we have this kind of mission statement, best idea wins, right? But you have to find the right influencers that way, right? You have to find, so I'm not going to say day one that would happen that way, but I think your key when you start out new is finding the right network of mentors that way. I think I've participated in a lot of these. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot more sharing of information. Chetan and I have been on calls with you to kind of look at stuff that way. And I think the best thing you can do is the network of things, right? That way with your boss and try to horizontally communicate that way. Not to say that you can't have an idea. I mean, you always have time to do stuff yourself, to kind of do that kind of stuff. But I think it'd be good to kind of get, some stakeholder influence that way and find out what that right mentoring network is to kind of bring those ideas there. That's just a thought.
Yeah, and I think to find that network, I mean, NBCUniversal has a lot of great employee affinity groups. I think that's one easy entry point to meet a lot of people that are not necessarily in your field. And then once you do kind of start building that network, getting a feel of all the different people that make up our 50,000 person company, I think you really need to then figure out, well, who would be the audience for my idea? And you kind of start dissecting the organization structure by that, like starting at Steve Burke and the gal, click, 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 and you're literally drilling throughout the organization to find that team, and then maybe there's that will allow you to kind of, in a way, through your connections, find the right person, find the right department, and kind of make that pitch. But it's not easy. I think the reason why you're asking that is it's not easy, and I think we're probably going to stay, yeah, we agree, but here's maybe how you can do that.
We do have the idea, though, and that's probably one of the best things I've seen that has been implemented in the last 2, right? You know what that is, right? Any employee can, once a year we do this with Steve Burke and I can't think, Neil Smith, right, the CEO of Comcast. There was 4,500 ideas submitted that way. And I don't know if anybody here is from Media Labs, I know they literally go through all that stuff too, right? So that's a little bit of a long shot, I would say, but there is a mechanism that way. I think that's one of the best things that's been implemented in the last couple of years.
In my department, I don't hire the millennials or the fresh resources out of the college, but we hire a lot of experienced people who came from different industries, different companies. So the one thing I tell them all the time when they come up with the new ideas is, look at the idea from the NBCUniversal standpoint. Do you think just because this idea worked elsewhere doesn't mean this is going to work here? But if you can, so don't look at just the content, also look at the context. If you think the idea is going to work and fit into NBCUniversal cultural and our business model and so on, we will try to bubble up to embrace those ideas, right? I mean, we have done a lot of new cool things within my previous role as well as the new role. But as long as you have the idea that fits into NBCUniversal business model and the culture, I think we are not afraid of promoting those ideas actually. But you cannot just give the idea just because it worked somewhere or you have done it elsewhere and you are going to replicate here, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, I totally agree. First of all, don't ever stop giving ideas. Don't ever do that. And then I think your network is your peers. Start with them. Don't feel shy to have one-on-one lunch with whoever you think will listen to you, and go from there, right? But like all the guys here are saying is just make sure that you've got the right information and then take it up, because that's the way to do it. So, but never stop giving ideas.
So that's an interesting question. I mean, you guys all have a lot of experience, but kind of when you first come out all bright-eyed and eager, you're like, I'm gonna do this thing. Do you remember like the first time that you sort of had a little kernel of a thing that you wanted to get done and you were a little unsure, and how did you go about, because now you're all committed to innovation, you're here, you're driving it forward, but that had to start from something in you. So do you remember? Story time.
You heard about DevOps from John and the team this morning, and that was one of the idea that we embraced a year and a half ago. In fact, we had a team that's called like automation team, if you will. The team name was automation team. And one day, seriously, Friday morning, I woke up and changed the team name to DevOps, right? So John, you're going to be a manager for DevOps from today. And he was like, what do you mean? So we are going to embrace the DevOps. And he was like, okay, how are you going to be successful? We are going to be successful by finding the champion from the business. So we partnered with a couple of champions like James and Chetan on our BTG side, and we set the goal to have 15 applications by end of 2015, and they have done 23. And I told them that can we do a 5-0 in 2016, and they have done already 60 applications. So when you embrace these kind of new ideas, to find a champion and make sure that you can showcase the success to those couple of business cases, and then they will become a word of mouth and marketing to go spread and kind of embrace across the enterprises actually. So don't try to start big. I think Donna was talking about this morning, right? Be vulnerable, right? I'm ready to fail fast, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to fail all the time. But if you have the approaches, if you have the business context, and if you really find a champion who can promote your new ideas, and start small, and then it can scale on its own, right? That's kind of a success story that we have on the DevOps side.
It is interesting. I took some ideas to our CFO, and I said, we've kind of laid a nice technology roadmap for you, but these are some of the things that we should think of. And I'd like to tee all this up during the LRP season, or a little bit before the LRP season. So I sat down with him and I said, as we do our events, there's always an opportunity to get the maximum out of it. So we really need to have a rights management solution. We really don't have from a sports perspective, we should start looking at that. So he looks at me and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm like, all right, so go away. I come back a week later, I talk to Nate, I talk to a couple of other folks, I say, coach me a little bit, because if the CFO doesn't understand what I'm saying, the message is not right. So they coached me, and I went back and I said, Dave, there's a monetization opportunity here. We're leaving money at the table. Oh, really? Talk to me now. And I gave him an example of golf and how we can do that. And he was like, why we're not doing this? You need to tee this up in the LRP. So yes, the idea came, it just did not happen. I mean, I had to go back multiple times to make sure that the audience who's listening to me gets it, and I'm speaking their language, and it really makes sense to them, right? And as soon as I did that, it was something that we started to tee up as an LRP and really drive that initiative across sports.
I would start it off with, if you believe in that idea so much, fight for it with all of you got. I think the example that I have in mind is when we started, when my team was created only 3 years ago, we had 4 people total, including myself. And I will never forget the first time I came up, presented my budget, asked for the next year budget to my manager at the time, and his reaction was comical. He laughed, and in a positive way, because I was asking for 4x my budget, which, as you would ask, if you ask a bank for 4 times more than you make, is kind of an insane idea. But the reason why it just wasn't give me a bunch of money and I'll do with it whatever I want. No, it's not that. It's I had the vision and the passion to organize a team, recognize a gap in where we could have added value. And what I ultimately asked for, it came gradually, and I think in 3 years' time into today, we have exactly what that vision was. But I wanted to fight for the bigger picture, and I was able to get those small wins to continue and get the snowball effect to ultimately get us to where we are today. And I think so. I would say you may not win it exactly how you actually want it to be, but I think if you keep your eye on the prize and continue to fight, then you're going to ultimately get it.
The only thing I would say is you got to kind of be self-aware to the point of being married to solutions, right? So we're doing a big project where we're doing automatic NAV extraction, automatic metadata tagging, and we had a great solution, and we kind of looked at kind of all the vendors there, you know, even just probably 2 years ago. But as we started getting into it, and it was successful, but we've seen other vendors kind of emerge that way at a cheaper price, and kind of the acceleration going on. And you have to be confident enough yourself to say, I had to go to my CFO and say, we're going to replace this solution. I know I pitched it 2 years ago. There's a newer technology that's going to replace it. That's going to be much better, more cost effective that way. And you got to be confident to be able to kind of pitch those things that way, you know, and not just feel like, oh, you got to do what's right for the business that way. So I think those are tough things to do sometimes. Like, hey, did you just come back? Did you ask that 2 years ago? I'm like, yeah, but this is better, you know. And so it's important that you have confidence. You got to have the research. You got to have the detail behind it, but never be afraid to do what's best for the company that way. It could turn out in the long run good for you and your business.
You know, if you believe in your ideas, right? If you're passionate, persistent, and perseverance, one day you will get your boss or boss, you know, getting approval to invest and get the idea going. But you really have to believe in the ideas first, right? Yeah. When I was in one of the conferences, this was a year and a half ago, Uber, as a company, they came on stage and they talked about, you know, how they do IT. And one guy made a comment that at Uber, we don't build an app. We don't. We use API to get all kinds of data from third parties. All we do is how to manage the APIs for Uber effectively and efficiently. That kind of struck my mind, like, okay, if Uber is one of the innovative companies that we all know, doesn't even build a single app to run that entire platform. They get the weather data from third party, they get the maps from Google's, and they get all, you know, they use a Square for payment and so on and so forth. So I came to my office and I was like, okay, if Uber can do such a business without building a single app, what are we doing? How come we are not enabling our business to do more API-based work? How come we are not allowing the business to go faster, not building an app, but kind of enabling them through the APIs? So we kind of bounce around the ideas, and finally now we have API management for NBCUniversal called Mastery. So even small ideas, but if you're passionate about it, if you're persistent about it, and if you believe in the ideas, and if you socialize with your people, and the innovations can come from anybody. It doesn't have to be a top-down approach, right? Anybody can bring innovations as long as you're open to the ideas. So now we have Mastery as the enterprise API management software for NBCUniversal. But the idea came from like one conference in like one statement the guy made from Uber. So that's the innovations that I'm talking about, right? Challenge the status quo all the time. Just because you have been doing this for the last 10 years, it doesn't mean that's the right way to do it next 10 years, right? So.
Yeah. See, Uber's good for more than just transportation.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can thank them.
For sure, Charlie.
Is there any other questions? Oh, I see right here. Mike, where's Randy? Right here? Oh, you have a question? Right here in this table, third one back.
Thank you. So each one of your businesses goes through a significant amount of change with your business requirements and what your own clientele needs, right? So as an example, you have to go and adapt to those particular things. And some of those things you may not necessarily have as a part of a service that you could actually provide to your clients. Same over at our side as well. When you get these particular needs that are very out there, what's your experience with coming over to us and having us meet those new architectural or design needs? They're not necessarily something that we natively do initially or right now. And what are some positive experiences there, and what can we do better in those areas?
Can you just speak to who us is? I don't know if everyone knows.
Oh, did you not hear me?
No.
Oh, pardon me. No, I'm with, I'm in Eric Craig's organization. NBC Universal Technology. Infrastructure Trade.
No, but what is the question? Just to rephrase it again, like how do we share ideas, or how do we go to shared services?
So
what's the thought? Like,
no, pardon me. Let me try to explain. Okay. So if you guys have a new thing that's out of the box that you guys are being asked to do, yep. And in turn you need to leverage some of our capabilities to do that, but it's not necessarily something that we currently provide or as a service or something that you guys can consume right now. How do you feel the engagement model is with us in order to be able to redevelop those particular needs?
So what has their experience been with the technology organization not supporting a request?
I'll give you a good example. We had to build a ticker plant. It's just not a core, like a real-time ticker plant for CNBC. It was just not in the core for shared services, right? So we did talk to them about stuff. We could leverage technology. But I think we got to be both honest about what can be done and what can be delivered. Now, if you guys have expertise and you can bring third parties in, that's fine that way. But I think it just starts with an open, honest conversation. I don't think anybody's trying to hide anything that way. But we have to be realists about kind of the capabilities of certain things. And the business has to kind of move on on some solutions that way. So I think the best thing we can do is bring those solutions back and kind of share that. And when we get to a maturity level where it makes sense, then that can be brought back into the stack of shared services. I don't know if I'm answering your question right. Is that?
It's okay.
Okay.
Again, Chris, I mean, as you know, we closely work with the Debashis on the solution architecture team. One example I'll give you, when Chetan and Nate Balog had a requirement to build a sports data hub, this was last year, we had no idea what it is, and we didn't have all the infrastructure and solutions in place, but we partnered with solution architecture team, and we went over to Stanford to work with Jason and the team, and we were able to put together the solutions. That solution did not exist before, right? In 2 weeks, we were able to showcase what we can do as a team from the technology standpoint, from the process standpoint, and they were thrilled with the ideas that we are able to collaborate with the different team. Infrastructure team is involved, solution architecture was involved, platform team was involved, and we worked with our partners very closely to prove what we can do. So I think collaboration and communication is definitely the key to be successful, and we try not to reinvent the wheel, right? If there is a solution exists, why not go ahead and do it actually, right? So.
Yeah, I totally agree. Partnership and collaboration. We sit down with, again, solutions architect Debashis' team, Ashish, and we come back and say, hey, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and how do we solve it together? What are the options? What is the solution? The key is fast to market. The business does not have patience to come back and say, well, this is going to take a year to architect and go from there. Nobody has patience today, right? So fast to market, top-notch solution, collaboration. I think that's the key. And I think that has worked very well on some of the programs we've worked together.
I agree with my 3 panelists, 100%.
And that's why we go with the partners, right? Our vendors and partners, right? If we don't have an idea, if we don't have time to build from the scratch, go and find a partner who has done it before. They can, again, Azure is another example that we closely work with your team and Jason, right? We didn't know how to do Azure network express out from NBCUniversal to Azure, but we learned along the way. We partnered with Jason and the team. He brought a lot of ideas because he has done it before. So when we learned that Jason done AWS integration before, and we were like, okay, let's go ahead and talk to Jason. Let's bring him in. So we worked with the CET team very closely to implement Azure architecture for NBCUniversal. So I think the collaboration communication is definitely the key in my view. Yeah.
Great. There's a question. I saw a hand.
Yeah, can I ask? Okay. It's probably a question everybody want to hear answer. Charles at the very beginning told we change technology changes us, we change technology, and it's non-stop process. And if we can look about 10 years ago, for example, Kodak, biggest corporation making films. Where we are right now, we gone. At the same time, we right now told about Uber. It's probably biggest taxi service. We own no cars. B&B, biggest hotel provider, we own no hotels. We were talking about cloud technology, cloud providers, and right now we provide not only resources like we can place our data or we can build VMs there, we provide services, and as further we will go, as more services we will provide. So how you will see role of IT in future? So making sure our job, our work will be not substituted by some cloud providers.
I'll take a stab at it. So, I mean, people sometimes ask me, you think IT will exist 5 years from now, or all the robotics will take over our jobs, right? So IT will exist, and the one thing I would urge and encourage all of IT professionals is to really move from technology focused to a solution focused and service focused, right? And you really have to kind of understand the business acumen. If you don't understand the business, and if you're really talking about the technology from the technology standpoint, that's not going to gel well with the business. And as Chetan said, business doesn't know or doesn't want to know how it works behind the scenes. They want to get things done faster, better, and cheaper possibly. So if you understand the business, and if you kind of use the business lens to see the solutions, and if you are able to explain to them that how this is going to solve their business problems, not the technological jargons, I think we will be able to be successfully deliver all the solutions to the business. So move from IT technologist to more like a business champion. I think that's definitely one thing we all have to make sure we do that day in, day out.
Does that answer? Yes? Okay. All right, well, wow, one more. Okay, we have a few seconds.
I'll get you the 20, it's like 3 people that mentioned the team. Thank you. Here's my question. You guys are on the front line with the business. They're obviously under a lot of pressure. It's deadline pressure, it's competitive pressure. The technology landscape is changing rapidly. And so you're tasked with trying to figure out how to push the dial from a technology perspective. And my question is, does technical debt enter the equation for you as you're trying to think about what direction to go in as you try and help your business?
Again, business doesn't care or doesn't want to care about technical debt, seriously. So if you're going to ask $10 million to refresh my tech stack because I'm kind of out of support or it's an older version and I'm increasing technical debt, business doesn't want to hear. You still have to address the technical debt from service provider standpoint, but you still have to kind of translate that into a business, why this matters, why reducing a technical debt will help them to grow or even solve the business problems, right? So that's why, as I said before, technical debt is more like a technology discussion. Business doesn't want to hear, but at the same time, you can't have 10 years old systems like a compact laptop running your code today, right? So we have to internally think that, yes, we want to reduce the technical debt, but I'm not going to talk to the business about the technical debt term. No, I'm going to talk to them how this is going to impact them from the business standpoint. I think that's kind of something we all have to think about, how to speak business language so that they understand why it matters.
Yeah, I'm an optimist. So I think technical debt does impact those decisions, but I think that if it is a fast-coming business requirement that's trying to change one of those huge enterprise applications in your portfolio, I think that you have to think modular. Enterprise applications, they do serve a point. They're highly complex. They soup to nuts. They do everything. But if there's a new component, I think we're actually having this challenge within our team right now, and that is nonlinear television. It's not like it's the newest concept of watching TV on your iPad, but we have a scheduling system that powers only linear television. A lot of technical debt because it's a highly complex application that drives the end-to-end television process. But right now, we are figuring out how to do nonlinear technology and scheduling, nonlinear scheduling and rights management. So what we did is, we can't change this huge enterprise application very quick, but what we can do is build a modular component for nonlinear scheduling, build that very fast and interconnected. And I think that's what we as IT professionals or technology professionals really have to think about, is getting less of these big old box solutions and being more modular, working with more third-party products that do a fantastic job at what they're meant to do. And there's startups all over the world that are specializing in these very niche products. So trying to stitch together those two while also minimizing the time it takes to deliver the solution to the business is the only way that we can operate.
I think it's really important to be able to articulate how the technical debt affects the business, right? So I'll give you a point. Like that News Connect app, we have it in iOS too. We do push notifications that way. We do a bunch of other features in our app that way. But when we went for funding, we said, hey, for us to really kind of move and make sure all our applications now are mobile enabled for all our workflow, we are not ready to do that. There's going to be rewrite to do that. And so while we didn't get the funding, it's laid in my CFO's head that, hey, there's going to have to be investment if we really want to go in that direction. So I think it's up to us as kind of technology leaders to really be able to communicate that properly and how that impacts the business. Because if you just to the point, like, I just need a refresh, they don't even know what that means, right? So you have to bring it into business context what this means, right? And so the more you can do that, whether it's kind of the way we don't really have ABI structure that way, you have to explain it in business terms, what that's going to do for you in the future that way. So I think most of the people I deal on the business side are starting to get more business savvy that way, and it's your job to kind of also bring how technology will affect them in the future. So.
The challenge is always try to explain technology to a CFO, right? It's tough. And when I was charged with bringing all the regional sports, we have 8 regional sports into the NBC family, I clearly looked at their technology was 7, 8 years old. And when did an assessment, came back and said, we will have to spend about $12 million to bring these guys in. I sit down with the CFO and I said, well, this is where we are. He says, oh, I'm not spending a dime. I don't think I need it. Everything worked for the last 7, 8 years. It'll continue to work. I'm like, that's fair. But I said, John, if one of these switches goes down, if your network, which is single-threaded, went out, you could be black on air, which could impact revenue. But it's your call. You know, and he says, what do you mean? And I said, well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
You quantify that.
Right.
A blackout is not
correct. Right. So
per second of black.
Exactly. So he says, oh, tell me more about it, right? And I said, well, I have a laundry list that I can explain to you. And that's how we got the funding for $12 million, and we refreshed all the RSNs.
But that's taking technical debt and explaining how it has business impact. That is the key. That's definitely key. We're getting the wrap-up sign, so we got to go.
Yeah, we're getting the wrap-up sign. All right, so they're here. So if you have more questions, I'm just volunteering your time. Apologies. After this, go ahead and ask. But
One final comment?
Oh, one final. Okay, 20 seconds. Go.
Dana was talking about, right, offer something beyond product, right? This very Amplify is a classic example that this team offers beyond the regular product they offer day in, day out. So great round of applause to the Amplify team for a successful second Amplify. Yeah.
So thank you, gentlemen. It was a good discussion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.